So as you know, my name is Jeanette Bouvet, and I am just so happy and excited and humbled to be reading my poetry with all of you tonight. So thanks for tuning in. It means a lot to me. I want to thank you, Leopoldo, for giving me this fantastic opportunity. It feels pretty surreal to be up here reading. And Dotty, I'm looking forward to listening to your poetry next. So with that, I'm going to dive right in. This first poem I wrote recently about our trip our family took to the Czech Republic a few years back. It's called Zikrono Livraka, which in Hebrew means a blessed memory. Zikrono Livraka. A picture hangs on the wall of our daughter's room, a portrait of the past, it breathes. Gazing at you are the dark eyes of innocent children, dressed for the town photographer, they are shy for the camera. Untainted by their fate, they are free. With a map in hand and under the canopy of trees, we walk the maze of paths at the old Jewish cemetery in Prague. A sudden wind whips up and leaves sail around our heads. Our eyes dot from one gravestone to another, but nothing, until we hear our daughter cry from afar, "I found them." Propped up against another stone and cradled in a nest of ivy are their names etched in a memorial slab of granite. Yerzy, Hanna, and Anna Skobasova. Missing is my husband's mother, Ilona, the only family member to survive Auschwitz. The sky is now a platter of charcoal-colored clouds, holding their tears from heaven. Our daughter takes her father's hand in hers. He stands in stillness, head bowed to the earth, mourning those he never knew, who should have had what he has, life. We give him time to grieve, and we are sad too, for the world, for the Jewish people, for Ilona, who lived without her twin brother, favorite sister, and mother. And then we feel the wind and the rain and God, leaving us to wrestle, leaving us to cry. At ease. You can hear them in the birdsong. Souls will dance and play. And in the quiet of a walk, a wind will blow your way. A bird shall fly through bluest skies and land atop a tree to tell you of the peace they found, a gift to you and me. So the next poem is called a mirror poem. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a poem that's reflected back onto itself. So the last line of the first section becomes the first line of the second section, and it moves in reverse. And I learned how to do this at Hugo House. This I wrote for my husband, Alex. Love note. Like a raindrop, I'm falling into the pond of your presence. I swim in cerulean swells. Love propels our infatuated state. I take your hand in mine divine, our hearts kaleidoscopes of color. Beloved, bend your body to mine. We'll kiss into nightfall. Lightness is this love's serenity, our affinity, a flame of desire. Our affinity, a flame of desire. Lightness is this love's serenity. We'll kiss until nightfall. Beloved, bend your body to mine. Our hearts kaleidoscopes of color. I take your hand in mine divine. Love propels our infatuated state. I swim in cerulean swells into the pond of your presence. Like a raindrop, I'm falling. So these next three poems were inspired by a couple poets and a writer that I love. I think it's only natural to want to emulate your favorites, and it's fun and it's challenging. Especially, it's a way to personally give back something of yourself to these talented people, even if they never see it. So there was a time a while ago that I wanted to get out of my element. I wanted to move into different territory with my poetry and with reading poetry. So I went to Elliott Bay Bookstore, and they recommended a local poet named John Duvernoy. He's very postmodern, very avant-garde, and he wrote a book called Something in the Way, Obstruction Blues. You can't get it online, but you can get it at Elliott Bay Bookstore. And I think he's a poet there, or he works there actually. So this first poem is more of my response to his poems. In regards to, so many of your poems that drive me wild, unhuman, are towards the end of the book, because endings are eruptions of emotion. It took setting it down, then coming back after months and months. I swallowed them whole and my body ached. Collapsing barns and thinking in with clots and fields, I tried to find you in the tall grass. I heard a cicada, cryptic. You drove by me on another planet, extraterrestrial-like. It landed on milky pages. Then I couldn't sleep for days. You got to go get his book. It's great. This next one is called For Dickinson. I wonder what it must be like to soar through windy skies and land atop an emerald fir to look upon the tides. Oh, give me wings, then give me flight. I'll give you all my thanks. Then off I'll fly to sandy shores to sing along their banks. And if this dream does not see truth, I'll keep it in my heart, where everything that's good and right shall always find a start. And I'm a big fan of Hemingway's writing. He's just original and fresh. And this is a short poem that I wrote for him. It's called Pine Cones. I don't know what kind of pine cone it was, but when it dropped from the tree, it broke apart into pieces. And when you stepped on them, a loud crunch was heard. And this made you happy and killed the loneliness of the walk. So I have been a nurse for many, many years, 23 years to be exact. And there are some things that will always stay with me. I'm going to let my dog in real quick. She's going to drive me crazy. She'd be scratching all night. Okay. One spring morning, I remember your name after so many years because I want to never forget you, Henrietta. Your hospital room is quiet, no family, visitors, or belongings, but it is alive with you in it. In Italian, your pattern of breathing is beautifully called crescendo diminuto, an increasing and diminishing of the force of life. My nursing assignment says comfort care, so I do my best and take your hand in mine. Your eyes are open, but you don't respond when I tell you my name. You are somewhere that isn't altogether here, but I know you feel me. I say, I am with you now. You are not alone. I imagine your smile to be something from heaven. Then, like the moon shrouded by passing crowds, you are gone. Something a little light now. This was a trip to the beach, I think a couple summers ago. It's called Birthday Girl. Running into the lake, big smile and goggles, bikini now, because one-piece suits are out. I watch you from the shore, almost 14 years, you are on the cusp of everything. Not too cool to hang out with mom, but I'm careful not to hold hands. We lie on towels side by side. You point to a birthmark on your leg, painted by the gods, a symbol of uniqueness and everything that is great about you. Love, Mom. I love that daughter of mine. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of us have spent so much time with ourselves during COVID, and sometimes curious things happen when you're alone. And this poem kind of reminds me of that. It's called Dinner Date. I'm sitting on a chair at an empty table with a boring dinner on a Friday night. Family's out, but I'm not alone. I see you across the way through the pane, black and leggy, suspended between two rhododendrons, perfectly centered in your translucent design, waiting like I am for something to happen. COVID has indeed been a crazy time for everybody. And when people started meeting again, I think outside, we had a memorable evening with some of our friends. This is called Friday Night. On the front porch, under a canopy of white clematis, we are like kings and queens. The table is decorated with bottles of scotch and wine. Cans of beer are empty and crushed. The sunlight has gone with the mountains, leaving a trail of peach and purple. Our laughter, like a song, echoes into the night. I light a candle so we can see our expressions, just to see them again, our souls light and happy. So when I was younger, I used to do a lot of sports and I didn't really have hobbies, and I despised the word hobby, because when people come up and say, what are your hobbies? I'd have nothing to say. And as I grew older, of course, I got hobbies. I started writing and did other things. And this poem, and then I understood just how life-changing a hobby can be for you. This poem is about a person and their hobby. Freedom. I watch you stand, controls in hand, the glider high above, in a space that occupies soul. Plane and sky and you float together, no one controlling the other now, in the quiet that can only be called joy. This I wrote after a trip to California to visit my brother, Jim. It's called The Strand. Bicycling under the shade of an airplane, my rubber wings spinning in the ocean air. With every rotation, I pedal through synonyms of happiness. This is called Moments. In the still of the December morning, only the fish tank bubbles. The dog is sleeping on her rug. Outside, the air is cold, and Christmas lights twinkle like colorful stars in the night. The moon is half and yellow, enough light that I can see the rolled up newspaper asleep on the dewy grass. Soon I leave to nurse the sick and dying. I stop at the crosswalk by the hospital and go to God first, so I can lift them up from their low places in this dark sky where light is hard to find. I can remember one evening sitting in my car when my daughter was doing gymnastics. It was a hot night and it was very muggy in there, and I just wanted to have some peace and quiet in the car. And I noticed a beautiful bird singing a beautiful song, and I thought of my mother. So this is a poem for her. Joy. Today I heard the song of a bird, and it sang with so much joy. So joy is what the day shall be, and what you are to me. I love you, Mom. This is called It Gets Me There. I could get lost in these shadows, the ones the sidewalk takes from the trees, all dark with specks of golden light. I could lay me down on this concrete canvas, my eyes absorbing green, my ears vibrating with the ruffled sound of tree, making me forget about me. This next poem was written after a great trip to the Ballard Locks last spring, this past spring. And I just really forgot what a real gem it is in Seattle. The herons were nesting, their babies were squawking, the sea lions were out, and I don't think we saw any fish, but the water was beautiful and the boats were big. But the nicest part of it was just noticing people loving each other in the midst of this pandemic. This is called On the Grassy Hill. Something lovely about how they lay next to each other, nearly naked in stylish swimsuits. Their skin pale and hair dyed black, you can almost feel their love lust. Her head gently resting on the other's belly, their smiles as sweet as the roses growing nearby. Two girls making their own magic, taking the reins of the world and riding into the oasis of springtime. It was a great day. So I'm sure that a lot of us have done this before, and that's backpacking through Europe when we were younger. And I had some memories about that, and I came up with this poem. It's called Austria, 1990. We sit in some cool hostel in Innsbruck. Your body smells of sweat from our day of hiking. Your dark eyes catch mine, and you say you are out of coins for a shower. You ask me to wash your hair, and with a smile, I say yes. You are timid taking off your white cotton tank, but I take over and tuck your head under the faucet. Your freckled back is nothing like my boyfriend's back home, but this is true. I like you. It is late and you bunk above me. I swear I can hear your heart rate just as fast as mine. If only I had climbed up to join you. So West Seattleites are often waiting around in traffic. It's just what we are stuck with. This is called waiting for the best. Stuck in line, the bridge doing its thing, going up again. Isn't that perfect? We're stuck again, nothing to do. But think about all the openings in life, like the one when you took me in your arms and confessed that you were tongue-tied in love, and could I be your wife? For a moment, my belly was a ballet of butterflies. I agreed that love was also on my mind, so I said yes. Then the roses winked at me from their beds in the garden at the zoo. So one of my favorite things in life was running, and I pretty much ran until my knees retired me. It was the saddest day of my life. It was my thing. Now I just walk very, very fast. This poem was written after a very, very wet run. It's called Elements. Rain, running in it, better than any symphony. We are the chords, flats, sharps, majors, making up some refrain, where wild feet pound in puddles that catch reflections of faces seen and unseen. Old souls sing in the stormy wind, whispering why we're here. And we spin in this song of joy, gravity, the only force keeping us down. So in our heads, we're going higher, feeling the grooves and turns with each foot, one in front of the other. Wetness soaks into this skin cold, but alive and on fire. Adrenaline mixes a beat inside this heart that's lubbin' dubbin', keep it coming, because outside brings it on, this space cathedral of trees, dirt, and rocks. Birds fly and bells ring. We sing a song of glory to this body church. And when it's over, inside we pray for another chance just to run in this rainway. So I don't go to church very often, but I do go to Schmitz Park, and that's like a chapel to me. There's so much to see and get lost in, and I often find myself coming up with poetry while I hike around. This is called August in Schmitz Park. Oh, slug, slimy, plump, horn-headed creature, always in my path, invariably squished. I walk around you, mourning your trek, suddenly terminated, covered in dirt, like a cloak of death. Where were you headed? Crow. King of the wire, the black crow sat, silent and serene, not squawking, chasing, or diving, just sitting, chest of ebony feathers open to the world. I love crows, big crow fan. Super smart, super obnoxious, but I love them. So this was written a long time ago when my kids that are growing up were just little ones in elementary school. And there was some melodrama going on in my life at the time. This is called Past Present. The slate is blank, the chalk has crumbled, and its dust lay in the lip of the old board black. Though looking back, there's more to this tale than told. But what's come is gone, and what's gone is a time, and that cannot be altered. So I wait on the pavement of the playground for the last bell of the school day to watch them fly through metal doors to the freedom, to the fresh air, to the better part of their day. Still, I stand in disbelief at all these years gone by. I once was them, and now they're mine, and I'm the mother hen, collecting coats and holding packs, then off they run again. I miss them being that small, but I guess they grow up, right? This is called Really. Really, everything is safe. That's what I say. There are no monsters lurking in the deep waters of my being, unless, of course, it's the Loch Ness and we're in Scotland eating shortbread and the crumbs drop from our mouths as we reach for another lovely cookie from the tin that you want to save so you can store special small things, nothing scary with a long neck that could snap at you when you open the lid and drag you into the dark space that was once sweet. I do a lot of walking. Another walking poem. It's called Take a Ticket. Today on the sidewalk, I balance on the shadow of an electrical wire. Arms outstretched, I'm a tightrope walker. My only applause, the buzz of a weed whacker. It doesn't matter that the wire moves with the wind. I fall 100 times, but in the circus of my imagination, I'm always invincible. And the last poem for me tonight is called What's a Head Case? Is it you? Is it me? Is it the one who can't be free from thoughts that disagree? I think, I breathe, I think, I breathe. Moods ascend and descend. I'm hoping for an end, just in case I might have a case of head case. That's it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. I also am very glad to be here, and I love it that I'm reading with Jeanette, because Jeanette, your poems were really celebratory, and I just love that. I just love to hear them, and your comments were wonderful too.
Oh,
so let's see. I think I'm going to. I have, as Leopoldo mentioned, I have a book that has been published. It's called The Book of Common Poems, and I'm going to mostly read from that. If anyone tonight would like to get a copy of my book, they can get it at Inkling's Bookstore in Yakima if you call them, and they will ask for a $10 donation and a couple dollars to mail it to you. So the first poem that I'm going to read is not in the book. It's more recent than that. I put this poem on Facebook, and the former poet laureate, Claudia Castro Luna, saw it, and she asked me if she could put it on her website, this poem that I'm going to read now. And I thought, well, isn't that the most fun thing in the world, to be having her ask me to put my poem on her website? So anyway, she liked it, and I'm going to read it right now. It's called Cutting Each Other's Hair During the Coronavirus. We are two women who got married 7 years ago, but that is not our story of courage. This story is about sitting in the yard in a plastic chair, an old towel around my shoulders, clippers, scissors with teeth on a side table, and my wife with an anxious face coming toward me with sharp, small scissors. If you think we have no training for this job, You are wrong. We watched an old guy with thinning hair cut his own on YouTube. But now my wife lifts the clippers to the back of my neck. The goldfinches and the apple tree, dapper in their bold spring plumage, chirp encouragement. Our dog watches from the sidelines, face filled with alarm. The clippers buzz their way along my neck. Then she grabs handfuls of hair on top and lets the toothy scissors munch on each clump. When we switch, I let the clippers linger and a bald spot glares on the back of her head. After, when we look in the mirror, my formerly fluffy hair is flat and the back of her head is too close to bald. But we glitter smiles at each other as if we had just renewed our vows. Thank you. So the first poem that I'm going to read in my book is called Living on Highway 12. And I actually, in Natchez, I actually live on Highway 12. And I didn't want to write a poem about myself living on a highway. So I thought this might be a good way to do it. Living on US Highway 12. I never thought I would be living on a highway, close enough to hear the trucks drum at night, the whiz of vacationers in the morning. And although we drink our coffee on the deck, welcomed by apricots, peaches, and plums glowing above our heads, I'm always aware that the road to our home is cluttered with gas stations, fruit stands, and diners, just like the ones in the James M. Cain novels I used to pilfer from my parents' bookshelves. In those books, there was always an edgy stranger draped over a stool at the Bluebird Cafe with a questionable story, his fingers itching to make something happen. Or perhaps a lonely housewife at the Sunshine Chevron casts a yearning eye at the mechanic. She wants him to change more than her tire. Oh, she thinks, I could get that grease off his hands easy. And she does get it off, along with his overalls. All summer, they have sweaty but spellbinding sex, and by fall, she has forgotten that she ever had a husband. When they make plans to move in together, she has only one request. Let's get away from this damn highway. Like a lot of people, I really like the artist Van Gogh. And so I tried to imagine what it would be like if Van Gogh and I could meet in Yakima. Me and Van Gogh in Yakima. He would have loved this light. Perhaps it would have helped him shout to the black dogs of depression, go home, go home. Then after they slink away, we can sit on my deck and chat. Let the sun cheer us up. I know it's Vincent by his almost audible restlessness, his ragged ear, but also in my den, he stares out from one of his brutal self-portraits. He tells me his brother Theo was given the gift of a peaceful heart. I tell him that the love of my sisters has made me whole. We confide these things. Then as the sun goes down, his face darkens. I have to go to my room now, he says, the one with the narrow bed and the blue walls. Yes, I've seen the painting, I say. He gets up and I think, please stay. I want him to see the starry night, how the moon lights up the apricots. I want him to be happy. But of course I know It's too late. He could only put the light in his paintings. So here is a poem about a beauty salon in a small town. It's called Sarah's Salon in the Sticks. In a converted garage, she entertains all heads of hair, old men, kids who can't sit still, middle-aged women trying to lasso a fistful of glamour, 18-year-olds who want something spiky and horrifying. She comes up with it all. Why, a teenager just left here who, from the neck up, looks like a porcupine, and she's smiling ear to ear. Sarah is a country girl, apple-cheeked, wheat-colored hair, married to a man who breaks horses, lives to nab a 4-point buck. She offers me a perm for 50 cents a rod, or a pretty good cut for a quarter of the price in town, and gossip just as good. I'm still attracted to my husband, she whispers, since her daughter is hovering in the next room. But I just wish he would let me do his hair. Seven years ago, I reconnected through the internet with my best friend from kindergarten. And that was really something, to be able to get together with this person. She was my best friend in kindergarten and really all through grade school also. So this is a poem about our old days and our new days. Julie, you were the cutest girl in kindergarten. Bonnet of curls, smile that broke into a laugh at the drop of a box of crayons. I liked it that you were shy, so I could play the big cheese. I took you home first day to meet my jazzy mother. Silk blouse, hair over one eye, finishing sentences with a wink. You loved her, and I loved yours. A butterfly in a pert house dress, whipping up doll clothes and chiffon cakes as easy as her ready smile. Older, we took over the neighborhood on our Schwinn's, zipped along, playing cards in our spokes. You were always faster. Trying to keep up, I learned I was afraid of speed. On Saturdays in the big woods, we built homes of sticks, then took the 11 Madison bus downtown to Woolworth's. Ate hot turkey sandwiches on divided plates, bought a goldfish, brought it home in a plastic bag. At 70, we meet again. We ferret through the tchotchkes at Goodwill, laugh until we almost pee. I forgot how your laugh delights me. Your beautiful hair lights up your face. I am a person who really loves to travel. So not traveling for the last couple of years has been difficult. But this is a poem. This is a train poem. I took a trip with my sister on the train that is known as the Empire Builder, which goes all the way east to Chicago. It's called The Grown-Up Sisters Ride the Empire Builder. The table sleeps in its own pocket, opens between us like a butterfly. There is a map hidden in the middle of a magazine where at any moment in time we can find our spot. The svelte closet is just big enough to hold our 2 jackets. We sit facing each other, spreading our fingers to show the extra room beside our hips. When the porter asks, "When shall I make up your beds?" we try to act like we do this every day. My sister rises. Her beautiful hands close the door on the world. Her hands are twins of mine. They are a rare, uncomplicated legacy from our dead mother. Of course, like all strong statements, this one's not quite true. Only in coma did mother's hands rest easy on the blanket bindings. In life, every reach seemed to quiver her fingers with tension, but not now. My sister nests herself in her seat, and we move silently and smoothly forward. In the dining car, we play a game of naming wildflowers. I toast my sister with Scotch broom. Shasta daisy, she says, motioning out the window where hillsides sparkle white. We explore the basket of rolls and the little packages of everything. A twinkling man joins us, the age of our dead father. Only this one makes us laugh. He shines his smile all over the table, shows us a photo of his family as if it is a treasure. Alpine gold, I whisper in my sister's ear. There is a shower where actual water sprinkles down my back. I can feel the rhythm of the tracks under my feet as we race through the Columbia Gorge. I like walking through the car in my pajamas. Back in our miniature room, wrapped candies sit on our pillows. We eat them, even though we have just brushed our teeth. We crawl into the bunks that will rock us into Idaho. The last word my sister says to me is foxglove. I am one of those people who struggled for many years wanting to be a vegetarian and not quite being able to do it. And I'm mostly a vegetarian now, but during that period of struggle, when mostly what I did was eat meat and feel bad about it, during that time, I wrote this poem called Razor Clam. Razor Clam. It's not like eating your dog, my brother-in-law assures me, as I aim the silver tube over the thumbprint on the sand, which might be his last gulp of air. It takes my whole body to pull him up. A glimmer in the cylinder of sand. I brush him off, rest him in my palm for a long minute, slide him into the bucket. Later, I lift a forkful of his chopped self from a pool of butter and garlic and remember the glistening bronze veneer of his shell, shaped like the path of the moon, the fine texture of his ivory flesh, a complexion any human would envy. A couple of miles from us on Highway 12, there is an osprey that comes to its nest year after year, and their nests are up on, if they don't have a nest built for them by someone, they often nest in a telephone pole. So this poem is called Osprey. Every scorching summer day, nested on her telephone pole, a life raft of sticks, she spreads her canopy of wings above her chicks, shields them from the blast furnace in the indigo sky. If the weather holds hot, she will cover the sky for them tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Her wings on fire, but her chicks under her reliable body, cool enough to live another day. Leopoldo, as you probably know, it gets very hot here in Natchez. And this is kind of a small poem, but it is the poem that won first prize in the Cowiche Canyon Nature's Storyteller Contest. It's called Moss. I sit here when I'm restless. I like the way it settles in, how it sneaks up the sides of rocks in its own low way, how it holds rain for weeks, waiting for a small green finger of cedar to spring from its heart. About 25 years ago, the bluebirds, which were prevalent around the central Washington area, began to disappear, and they were disappearing because human habitat was encroaching upon their area. So the Audubon organization stepped in and installed 132 bluebird boxes to give them places to nest. And that has been very successful. The bluebirds are now back on that trail. And each week of the breeding season, people from Audubon sign up and count the bluebirds so that they can know exactly what's going on with these bluebird boxes. And so I've done that along with my wife, Vera, for a number of years. So this is a poem called Counting Bluebirds for Audubon. We leave in the morning cool, armed with clipboards, sun hats, and the childhood buzz that accompanies a search for treasure. I never thought I would find love this late in life, much less easy love, but here we are, laughing, graying, and ultimately fading together. In the Weenass Valley, where the formerly brown hills explode balsam root suns, we hear wicka, 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 and when we look up, a northern flicker twirls, shows us his white rump and jazzy leopard wings. We turn to the side of the road for the sky blue roofs of the bluebird boxes. I knock softly on the side of the first one to give warning, a chance to escape. You lift the roof. She's here, wide-eyed, frightened, but doing her job. The shawl of her azure wings shelters 5 aqua eggs the size of dimes. We record the data, but with such silly smiles, you would think we'd laid these eggs ourselves. Where we live is on a slough, and we have lots of birds, and we feed lots of birds. And in addition to other good things that come from feeding birds, we get a lot for ourselves. We get a lot of entertainment. So this is called morning entertainment. Way too much of our budget goes to birdseed, but the shenanigans on the feeder egg us on. The dapper chickadees carefully pluck one seed at a time. Red-winged blackbirds, those cowboys, scuffle with the house finches, knock them off the feeder. And for beauty, the goldfinches shine sunnier each week as breeding season dawns. Each morning, we sit down to our pumpkin flax cereal, coffee, heavy with milk, and our morning kisses, which I love, of course, but those birds, so different from us, so much the same, keep our feathers fluffed. This next poem is a poem to Central Washington, specifically Yakima, and also to my wife. Yakima. I did not think brown hills would comfort me, wrap me up in a womanly way, but they do. The especially perpetual sun cheers me every day. Some call these hills plain, but perhaps they have not been here in spring when yellow balsam root ignites every ridge and bitterroot stars appear blushing against gravel. And you, who some would say are plain, gather me up in your steady arms. Your quiet hazel eyes sweep to the osprey overhead or the lenticular clouds, and you show them to me. You tell me, listen, a kingfisher, and I do. One of the things in our yard is a big, huge, really, apricot tree. It's pretty old. I don't know how much longer we will be able to have apricots from it, but it's still going pretty strong. So this is called apricots. Any kind of moon will make them glow. We sit in the dark, close together, not talking, watch them on the tree. Your splayed hand rests on top of mine. I pretend the gold light is anointing us. You have to pick them in the morning when it's cool, nest them in a box, one layer only. Have to be careful with things you love. We also have a huge walnut tree that gives us way more walnuts than we can use every year. But we try to crack as many as possible while watching bad TV. Cracking walnuts. You want to pick them up before the rains come. Lay them in a single layer in a flat box until they are light and dry in your hands. Cozied up on the sofa, together we crack them, not even touching each other, partnered by the task in our hands. Even with a good nutcracker, it takes a long time to fill a bowl. It took a long time for me to let me love you. It took a long time for me to let you love me in your quiet way. I was always looking for some other tree to lean on. New to me, how kindness was the heart of the matter. Now our giant pile of walnuts is ready for toasting, for sugar and a little salt. As they rest after roasting on cookie sheets, we grab a couple and pronounce, yes, yes, they are good this year. And this is my last poem. And one thing that is true of my wife Vera and I is that we are different in our, as many people are, different in our orientation to the world. She is more scientific type of person, and her interests veer in that way. And I am more artistic in my interests. And we have shared our interests more, so we've learned from each other. But this poem is called Vera Gives Me the Sky. Who doesn't love an inky sky blasted with stars? But until our nightly walks each August, I did not see showers of shooting stars, Jupiter's moons, or the harvest moon bulging through gauzy clouds. I wanted to tell my story, and you interrupted me, slid your arm around my shoulders, swept your other arm up to show me the moon. I must admit, exchanging stars and planets for words was a new thing. And when you set up the scope so I could see Jupiter and 3 of his bright moons, truly, there was nothing to say. But of course, I did speak, excited as a child. Later, when we hold hands, the infinite sky enfolds us, and I give you the gift of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Leopoldo. And without more ado, here is the poem. The emergency ward. 30 hours in the emergency ward. Why am I here? There is so much to do. I have to teach. I have to teach. Come, I'll give you books for your children. In my ardor, I crossed the line on the floor. They put me back on the bed. My neighbor cursed the nurse for delaying his coffee, started singing. Joined in, I am no singer. Nurse, I hear voices, he yelled. Next morning, out he checked, without adieus or looks backward. The love of a lifetime came by, a raven settled behind my pillow. Hopped around looking, its lunch to heat. This, despite a rule clearly stated, a sign prominently posted, visitors will wait in the lobby. The camel's back broke. Reminded the guard of the rule, hid in the restroom till the coast cleared, preventing a big black lady from using it. Emerged, no raven to find. This was but a temporary reprieve, though clouded in parts, rays of reason pierce the mind. End this, be free, untrammeled. If you consort with someone whose behavior is inappropriate, you are culpable, the more so if the other will not accept the truth. The decision made the path clear, all that remained was to survive. Minor ordeals, MRI, misstatements to friends, this too did pass away. That's it.
Thank you, Raj.
Okay, this one is a poem I wrote for a U of a House class in 2008. It was a class in Jack Kerouac. I think I've read a few from that class before, but you've never heard this one before. It's about it's about my siblings when we were really young, lived in Maryland, and we had some aunts and uncles who lived out west, and we wanted to go there and at least visit. So it's called Dreaming Westward. The universe is an angel, except in the sweating heat of Tidewater, Maryland, where my sister and I wash dishes in the evening, dreaming of mountain flower breezes below the snow-wrapped peaks of Colorado. My Uncle Tom drove his 56 T-Bird from Denver to our Baltimore suburb in 1959. He dressed in button-down collar, striped shirts, and chinos like the Kingston Trio. That's how I wanted to look after tiring of combing my hair in a greaseless cowlick attempt at a pompadour in a 9-year-old's homage to Elvis. Why did my uncle want to drive the flatlands across 1,000 miles eastward from the mythic blue-jawed Rockies we had yet to see? In 1964, we moved to Cincinnati, city of local unpronounceable German beers, with their grimy brick breweries smoking in the downtown river basin. And I only wanted to go further west. There, a few years later, I began to think of California, of an album cover of Joan Baez standing on a green headland in Carmel, plucking a nylon string Gibson. Her soprano floating above the slate-colored roar of the Pacific. All those place names, Monterey, Big Sur, Marin County, shimmered in a dream of a dawn gray journey where I arrived with the sun, a lone gold trumpet crying out east of the fog that shrouded the jazz cities of the Bay. And take a couple of phrases from Kerouac in that one, like the universe is an angel. That's something that was sort of, she gave us some phrases and we just sort of wrote, used that to prompt us to write more.